Hello, everybody. Beautiful blessings. It's a gorgeous day outside. It is Friday, January 27th, and I cannot believe how warm it is today, so I thought I would come outside. Spirit came through very strong this morning to give some new clarities and insights, teachings for me that I shared, and I'd like to continue. They've kind of given me a nudge to do some oracle readings today. And I did want to clear up, because I know some people were confused when I used the term spirit. And for myself, I know a lot of mediums use the term spirit when they're talking about bringing through loved ones from the other side. But for me, I'm using it as a general term in reference to guides, angels, masters, light beings, starseed family, and our loved ones, ancients, our elders. So anything that is not of the flesh is in spirit, and that is what I use when I say the term spirit. I'm kind of referring to all. But today's reading is going to be from Messages of the Guides, which I love this oracle. I've developed a beautiful bonding energy with this deck. It's from James Van Praagh, and it touches base on a lot of the specific lessons that I could say that most souls are here to experience, and also the Hidden Truth Oracle. And this one is geared towards the divine counterparts and twin flame, whatever terminology again that feels right for you. I know a lot of people believe that the divine counterpart of the twin flame is part of the higher self, or the soul, so to speak, that's split into two. And again, I'm leaving that into your interpretation of what the divine counterpart is for you. So with that, I'd like to thank all of the spirit beings, guides, angels, ancients, masters, and twin flame energy, divine counterparts that have blended their wisdom and insight to help give a reading for the highest good. Just gonna shuffle the cards. Always take the ones that seem to rise up out of the deck, or if they have fallen out when I'm moving them around. Sometimes I spread them out in three when they aren't very receptive, but when I've used the deck a few times, usually the energy is strong and I don't need to do that. That just kind of comes out. Okay, so the first card that's coming out is I Feel You Leaving Me Behind. And again, you have to place this in your situation. In a divine counterpart scenario, this card feels like that maybe one of the counterparts has been doing a lot of soul searching and inner work. Maybe they're a little bit further on in their journey, and the other part of this is feeling that. They're feeling that maybe they're being neglected or ignored, or they're not getting the attention. Maybe sometimes it feels a little blank when you're connecting with your divine counterpart. And a lot of times, that feeling of I feel you leaving me behind is just, there's not the exchange in that moment, because it's very much a going within on one of the sides. And so the energy feels a little bit blank. maybe a little bit far away. And so it's not necessarily that they're disconnecting from us. It's just, it's hard to explain in words, but it does feel like that perhaps the other counterpart is a little bit further ahead in the journey. And sometimes the ego gets in the way and we're worried that we're going to be forgotten, or it's going to get so complicated and advanced that one of the divine counterparts is going to get tired of it and walk away, which is impossible. But so today, Spirit is bringing through the attention to when we feel that feeling, when it feels like we're being left behind. It's not true. That's impossible. It's just that there's a lot of shift going on with the energy, and maybe one of the divine counterparts is going very, very deep within and working on something, and that energy doesn't need to be shared. Okay, the second one that's coming through is you don't know how hard it was to let you go. Okay, despite what this is saying, Spirit is giving me a very strong feeling that in essence it was meant. It goes in hand with the feeling of one of the counterparts is going very deep within and doing a lot of work, and perhaps maybe the rhythms of life are not meeting up at this point. There's different lessons being learned from each counterpart, and that feeling of letting go is sometimes when one of the counterparts has to focus on their life and some of the things that they're going through, whether it be a family issue or it could be dealing with certain types of emotional upheavals inside, that we tend to feel like we have to separate and let go and focus on something else at that point. So all Spirit is saying is that from the divine counterpart's perspective, that has to go very far within and do this work. The feeling of letting go and giving the other divine counterpart a space and kind of not having such a strong energetic exchange in that moment can feel very difficult, because you're so used to having that bond and that energetic feeling of they're very present. And when you have to change that focus and shift that focus, it is a sense of letting go. And sometimes it's difficult because you don't want to give the feeling to that person, that soul, that you don't care or that you don't want to be there for them. And maybe sometimes there's going to be a shift in the life where you're not going to speak, you're not going to have any interactions on the physical. And so that letting go is actually a graceful thing. It's saying that I'm going within, I'm doing the work, and this is not the time right now. Just being near you is intoxicating. I think we all know what that Spirit is saying with that, is that sometimes it is overwhelming. It's very overwhelming. It especially when you first recognize each other and you're exploring everything and all the synchronicities are happening and you're starting to recognize that you can communicate soul to soul. How a lot of the emotions that you're feeling is kind of in the same moment, or maybe one of the twins is physically ill and the other one is feeling things, and it's just that intoxicating feeling of the draw. And sometimes, to go with this, you don't know how hard it was to let you go. Sometimes it's overwhelming, and one of the divine counterparts has to kind of step back a little bit, because the intoxicating feeling can take over everything. And we don't want to make decisions from that. We don't want to, if we're going through something in life, whether it's a physical health challenge or an emotional thing, we don't want to get too focused on the actual sensations of things. We have to stay very balanced and understand that we can move that energy, and the connection is to enhance whatever we're going through. We could, instead of falling into the phase of focusing on the synchronicities or focusing on the magic of it that we feel, we can use that focus to use the energies to help heal whatever it is that we're working on in that moment. As I said, I'm going to use the example of physical health challenge. Instead of using the energy in an intoxicating way, which there's nothing wrong with that. We need to process that too and enjoy it. That's part of this. But using that intoxicating feeling to move the energy into something that we could use in a sense of, I know the Kundalini, solar plexus energy, where there's a lot of sensual feelings, a lot of sexual feelings. We can transmute that into healing energy because it's such a supercharge. And so this is something that Spirit's bringing through today, that we're not going to leave each other behind. And the advancement, when one of the counterparts is working on something and learning, it's for both and for the whole. We're sharing it. And so we have to let go of that ego and that fear and really go into that space that it's for the greater good. And now the messages from the guides. Just gonna give a little shuffle here. Okay, they're just asking that I pick one of these. And it's interesting. The guides must really be on the relationship thing today. The card that came out is Release Toxic Relationships. And to coincide with the divine counterpart, I think most of us know that if you're watching this, 9 times out of 10, you're in the flow of these things. To release the toxic relationship is a lot of times that stage when we're realizing that we have a purpose, and sometimes what we have been surrounded by is not necessarily where we are on our journey anymore. And we have to move from the loop. We have to move and step outside of what's comfortable, that's not helping us expand. Sometimes we're in a situation where I know a theme that's been going around right now is the narcissist, or maybe we feel a little gaslighted. We could be in an abusive situation, and these are all things that are toxic. But also toxic relationships are the ones we have with ourselves. A lot of times we get stuck in these ego-based situations where we want to control everything and we want to be right. And sometimes releasing the toxic relationship is just going within ourselves and understanding that we have to balance what our heart wants, what our mind is in need of, and the lessons our soul came to experience, because it's all experience. I'm going to read from the book they're asking me to read. In order for a soul to thrive, it needs to be in an environment of love and harmony. When there is a disordinance or an imbalance, the soul suffers and the body is often left with emotional or physical pain. Oftentimes, souls like you, who are making progress on their spiritual path, will attract others who may be drawn to your light and can siphon off your energy, leaving you feeling depleted and empty. It is always first impulse of the evolved soul to want to assist their fellow travelers who seem to be struggling. But there comes a time when you must realize that their path and your path have little in common. And it is best that you part ways. Sometimes a soul will be brought into your journey just so you can prove to yourself that you have the wherewithal to release them. Toxic relationships come in all forms and can be detrimental in many ways in your life. Attempt to release those who are not in accordance with your being and do not inspire your soul. Do not allow your kindness to be mistaken as any entry for others to mistreat you. Life is too short to be with others who are not enjoying the adventure and aren't helping you co-create a world that you want to live in. And a lot of times, to touch base with the Divine Counterpart card that I pulled before, that feeling of being left behind can also be when we are moving into that space of being ready to co-create and release what no longer serves us. And that is a big energy shift. And sometimes one of the divine counterparts is feeling that, and the other one is been through that already. And so there's that feeling of that one of them is disconnect or left behind, and it's not. It's just part of the big shift. And we always come around in a cycle. Always. We have to trust that. So thank you anyone who has listened to this reading. I feel that even without the focus on the divine counterpart, these cards can also be reflected on the relationships that we have with ourselves and what we're going through, about releasing what no longer serves us, serving for the highest good, moving through the toxicity of things. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy. Sometimes we've told ourselves a repetitive storyline over and over about how things should be, and we're not surrendering. And that's where the beauty and the magic happens. That's where the miracles are. In that moment, when we realize that there is a bigger picture and we trust it. It's all about the trust. So I wish everybody a beautiful day. I hope you can get outside, enjoy in your part of the world, wherever you are, a little bit of fresh air. It's very good for the soul. Blessings.